Now, her music has been getting more sophisticated, more worldly, and really those catchy, uplifting tunes of her early years from albums like Fearless and Speak Now are gone.
The Stand Radio, Saturdays at 4 and Sundays at 8 p.m. Central on American Family Radio.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR on this Thursday, July the 18th, 2024. Tim Wildman here with Ed Battagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
And Fred Jackson.
Hi there, Tim.
Let's see, that's it. We're it. Except for we got Jenna coming on, Jenna Ellis at the bottom of the hour.
Yep, 10:30.
And then Steve Paisley-Jordahl will be on the studio.
11:05.
A lot of pressure on us. Got to carry the show.
We'll handle it.
We'll handle it.
We were born for this moment, Tim.
That's scary.
I hope we were born for more than this moment, but we'll take it.
All right. A lot to talk about, obviously, with the Republican National Convention winding down this evening. President Trump will speak, right, Fred?
Speak tonight, and I hesitate to say what time Central, because the convention has a lot of speakers. Like last night, JD Vance was supposed to give a speech 8:30. I think it was.
You mean Central Time?
Central Time. I think it was about 9:45.
Yeah.
By the time we got to
I don't understand that. I don't understand. I'm sure there's, reasons. I just don't understand why you put your prime time message on after people on the East Coast. A lot of them have turned the TV off, gone to bed.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know either, because now I do understand just the mentality of not saying specifically when the main speaker is going to speak,
Right.
because a lot of people would not tune in for the rest of it. They would say, all we need to do is at 8:30, JD Vance is speaking. And then if you have speakers after the main person, no one's going to stick around for those either.
You don't want to be that person.
You don't be that person who has to follow everyone else after JD Vance speaks, goes out, hey, let's go get some coffee in the foyer.
I know you're speaking while the janitor's sweeping up the floor out there.
That's right.
In the convention hall.
So I guess they figure that those who are there for the party or even watching online.
I don't think they had any. Did they have any speakers after JD Vance? I thought maybe.
I doubt it.
I think they just had the benediction, so to speak, or somebody, as it were, the prayer.
I'm just going to be honest. I watched all of it.
What?
The convention. I watched a lot of the speakers.
Right.
But at 8:30, okay, when I figured he would speak at 8. Kind of that prime time slot.
And you're talking Central Time.
Yeah, Central Time. And at that point, I said, I'm going to bed. And I will watch.
Was it dark yet? You people are sleeping your life away. I'm here to tell you.
He has his evening meal at 3 in the afternoon.
In my defense, okay, I do get up at 4.
Okay.
And so I got up and I did.
I've been in bed for 3 hours.
Yes.
When you get up.
I did watch JD Vance's speech, but I did it this morning.
Okay.
So if Donald Trump speaks at 9:30, 9:45, I will watch his speech tomorrow. In fact, I have you guys in leadership. I have our text thread muted, because if I don't do that at 9:30 or 10, while you guys start texting, it wakes up half the house.
I think about that now.
Yeah.
10 o'clock's kind of my all my friends have gone to bed texting sort of rule of thumb.
It is strange, though, going to bed when there's still light out. It is. But I get up early, and there's just biologically speaking, there's just no two ways around it.
Fred, you get up like
3:30.
Good night.
3:30. Normally I'm in bed at 8:30 or so.
Yeah.
But because of what's going on right now, I came in the office last night to listen.
I don't think the does the Bible talk about what time you need to go to bed and get up?
It does not.
It's in
Okay.
Hezekiah. Early to bed, early to rise.
Check that out after the show.
The prophet Ben Franklin? Is that who that was?
The prophet Ben Franklin. The prophet Malachi.
All right, so President Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, speaks tonight to the Republican National Convention and will be his first public speech since the assassination attempt on his life last Saturday.
Yeah.
But before we sort of preview that or talk about that to the extent that we will, last night was JD Vance,
Yes.
the senator from Ohio. It was his moment to introduce himself to those in attending and also the nation.
Yeah. It was an interesting speech, and some people said it wasn't so much a speech as it was a talk,
Yeah.
because he went off script a number of times.
Did he?
He seemed to be having a really good time with the crowd.
He was very relaxed.
The Ohio delegation, Michigan, and
Made some Ohio State, Michigan football
Right.
jokes.
yeah, he did. And I'm sure that wasn't part of the script. But when he did stick to the script, he talked a lot about his background. He grew up, and I think a lot of people now know, he grew up in abject poverty. His dad, his mom were not present. His mom was a drug addict. He was brought up by his grandma, who we referred to as his mama,
Right.
and that drew a lot of applause from the crowd as
As
well.
he said, that's what hillbillies call their grandmother.
Yes.
There's
yes.
some funny lines.
Yeah, and his grandma, sounds like an interesting lady. Among other things, they found after she passed away 19 guns.
Loaded.
Loaded in her house. So
I don't know if I'm leaving my grandkids over with my grandma in that situation, but anyway.
Yeah, my thought was when I heard that, I thought that's not a real strong argument in favor of Second Amendment,
Right.
because everyone's
know.
always saying, well, "What about kids?"
I think what J.D. Vance was describing, and I haven't read the book. Have you guys read the
No.
book? Hillbilly
Elegy.
Elegy. But you're right, Fred. He was raised under. I mean, this guy had it rough, man,
Yes.
as a child. I
Mhm.
mean, really, his mother's addicted to drugs, basically absentee. His dad wasn't around. They had gone through a divorce, I think, when he was 6 years old. He moves in with his grandmother and grandfather and with his sister. I think he one sister. Anyway, one of those situations where you go, this guy, there's 2 strikes against him before he gets to be a teenager. Okay.
and that is part of his story,
Yeah.
because he goes on from there went into the Marines, gets out of the Marines, and he goes to Yale Law School, graduates top of his class.
Well, he went through Ohio State,
Yeah.
got a 4-year degree in 2 years.
In 2 years, entrepreneur. I mean, it's really interesting. Don Jr. Spoke just a few minutes before Vance got up to speak, and Don Jr. Trump talked about the ticket. He says, "We're the Trump family. We grew up in Park Avenue
Right.
at Trump Towers." And then he says, Vance, he grows up in abject poverty, but he
In
says
Appalachia.
in Appalachia, but he says we're singing from the same page now when it comes to what are the priorities for this country. So here's a little bit of what Vance had to say last night. Cut number 1.
And I promise you one more thing. To the people of Middletown, Ohio, and all the forgotten communities in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, and every corner of our nation, I promise you this: I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from. And every single day for the next 4 years, when I walk into that White House to help President Trump, I will be doing it for you, for your family, for your future. Thank you. God bless all of you, and God bless our great country.
Okay, so I knew very little about, I'm probably like most of us, right? About JD Vance. I know he won, knew he was a senator. I don't think I've ever heard him speak on the Senate floor that I've watched much. And I'm not criticizing him. I'm just saying he hasn't been very visible. Would you
No,
say?
I mean beyond the success of his novel and the movie.
Yeah, I mean in politics, but yeah.
I think he was an unknown quantity for a lot of people. A lot of people, even like us, who pay fairly close attention to the political landscape. I did not know much about him either.
Yeah.
And now I liked his speech. He is clearly comfortable in front of large crowds. It was a really good speech, strong yet relaxed and friendly, and he immediately had a good rapport with his fellow Republicans.
He was introduced by his wife, who was also a Yale grad, very bright lady. And this was another contrast that he drew attention to. She is Hindu. She grew up in San Diego, California. But
She's
they got
Indian.
Yeah.
By ethnicity.
And but they met at Yale Law School. And she said one of the things that she was impressed with him, he had a tremendous interest in getting to know her and her background.
Yeah.
So much so, and she kind of joked about this. He's kind of a hamburger guy. She said, I'm vegetarian. But he wanted to learn how to cook meals that would be acceptable to her and her family. Just that type of guy. By the way, one of their children is named Vivek.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, a Hindu name, Vivek Ramaswamy. So, it was really quite fascinating to listen to him last night. The crowd loved him. And one of the reasons, apparently, that he was picked by Donald Trump, Donald Trump's sons had a lot to say in this, and they really looked at his background, but also his age. He's 39 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And coupling all that together, they were thinking of the Republican Party of the future as well, and who he can appeal to. So,
by the way, Google the other day, I was on Jeff Shreve's show in the morning at 8 o'clock, and Jeff and I were talking, and I was going on what Google said about his height, because it said he was 5'7". He's 6 foot, 6'1", 6 feet tall.
Oh,
6 feet 1. Not that it matters,
right?
Okay, it's what he believes, not how tall he is. But that was being mischaracterized, because I said, and I regret this, I really do. I said on Jeff's show that if he's 5'7" and Donald Trump's 6'2", 6'3", he will look like a wind-up doll standing next to the former president. But he's actually, looks to me like he's about 6 feet tall. And the beard is good for him.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has young
Good.
features.
Yeah, he's a baby face.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a baby face.
Right. Absolutely.
Huh? But I'm just saying, because I long for one.
Well, I'm going to say
When I
a
look
lot
in the
of
mirror,
people.
I go,
A lot of
Man.
people call me babyface because I look so young.
and you're Italian, and you have a gun. There's Scarface and the baby
You
face.
see, Ed, it wasn't
I'm
me that
sorry.
brought this up.
Not this
That was
time. Not
wrong.
this time.
Again, that was an ethnic slur almost. But anyway.
No, not almost. but we digress.
We digress. But what is? He listen. The positives for JD Vance, I think, with at least Republicans who don't know him, a Marine Corps vet, signed up for the Marines, right? But he's not. He made it clear. What I got, he's not interested in sending American troops around the world. Did you get that?
Yes.
I don't think he was a fan.
That's been a common theme for Republicans.
Yeah.
No unnecessary wars.
So, and he also, so very highly intelligent, accomplished a lot, and with the odds against him, right? And seems like a genuinely nice guy and pleasant to be around.
He did.
He converted, became a Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up around evangelical, Protestant churches, but given his childhood, he probably wasn't ever in. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In a deacon or an elder or anything of that
Right.
nature. So we will see going forward. But you're right. With respect to why he was chosen, I think there's two reasons. One is Don Jr. and Eric,
Yes.
the sons, have a good rapport and really like him, JD
Mm-hmm.
Vance. Secondly, he is from the Midwest. He grew up in Kentucky and then in Ohio.
He mentioned a lot
Kentucky,
last
I know.
night. He mentioned the states Pennsylvania,
yeah.
Ohio, Michigan.
Oh, yeah, that's where he's going to camp out.
Wisconsin.
That's one of the reasons they chose him. They
Yeah.
want him to go to Pennsylvania, Michigan. Those are the quote Rust Belt states that the Republicans need to win in any presidential election to have a chance. They need to win at least 3 or 4 of them, which Donald Trump was able to do in 2016. So that was one of the reasons he was chosen. And he'll be, as I say, he'll be camped out in those states in the upcoming months.
Yeah.
So you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. We were talking about JD Vance, the senator from Ohio, speaking last night at the Republican National Convention, and then President Trump tonight.
President Trump tonight. One of the other compelling moments last night at the convention was Gold Star families. You remember during the debate, 3 weeks ago now, that Biden said no military people died under his watch. We know
Huge misstep.
13 of our soldiers died in the extract out of Afghanistan.
Yes.
We also remember the pictures when the bodies of those heroes were brought home. Joe Biden at the airport checking his watch.
Yes.
All right. So last night at the convention, they had the moms and dads of these soldiers lined up across the stage, naming each one of those soldiers, and the crowd repeated their names.
Yes. Because it was a rebuke to President Biden.
Yes.
You forgot about these.
Yes.
Our kids.
Yes. So I want to play you a little bit of that last night. It was just a moment that you're not going to forget. Cut number 4.
Joe Biden said the withdrawal from Afghanistan was an extraordinary success. Look at our faces. Look at our pain and our heartbreak. And look at our rage. That was not an extraordinary success.
Our son, Corporal Hunter Lopez, whose name Joe Biden has refused to say out loud, was killed on August 26, 2021.
While Joe Biden has refused to recognize their sacrifice, Donald Trump spent 6 hours in Bedminster with us. He allowed us to grieve. He allowed us to remember our heroes.
That was unscripted. That was an incredible moment at the convention last night.
And listen, Joe Biden has made one mistake after another, but those kind of things have so set aside his positions and his actions towards the energy production sector of our country or the inflation or whatever. Those have some emotional pull too, but these kinds of issues, the president checking his watch, him apparently completely forgetting that yes, people did die in the military, and it was after a complete foul up in the extraction of our forces from Afghanistan. All those kind of things have tremendous emotional punch, and anyone not only watching last night, but anything going forward, whenever these folks speak to these issues, is going to have a lot of emotional punch.
Yeah, it was quite a moment.
Trump spoke also.
Yes, she spoke. She's the oldest granddaughter of Donald Trump. She spoke last night. Sharp young lady. I think she's 18 years old, and talked about what's life like having Donald Trump as your granddad. So cut number 2, a little bit of her speech.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kai Madsen Trump. I am the granddaughter of Donald Trump. I'm speaking today to share the side of my grandpa that people don't often see. To me, he's just a normal grandpa. He gives us candy and soda when our parents aren't looking. He always wants to know how we're doing in school. On Saturday, I was shocked when I heard that he has been shot, and I just wanted to know if he was okay. It was heartbreaking that someone would do that to another person. A lot of people have put my grandpa through, and he's still standing. Grandpa, you are such an inspiration, and I love you.
He was just 17 years old.
Yeah. And you know what's amazing about that is I didn't watch the whole speech. I just watched part of it. It was very brief. She's the daughter of Donald Trump Jr., Don Jr.
Yes.
And Don Jr.'s wife. She had a part in her life, too. I'm trying to find her name. Do you know?
You talking about Laura?
No. No.
I'm talking about
Kimberly Guilfoyle?
No, they're not married.
They're
No,
not.
they're not married.
Guilfoyle. No.
I'm talking about Kai's mother. What's her name?
She. I'm sorry, don't know the name. They divorced back.
Vanessa, isn't it?
A few years ago.
It's Vanessa.
Yeah, I'm getting them all mixed up.
All right, Vanessa Trump is Don Jr.'s ex-wife.
Yes.
And so the mother of the young lady we just heard. What I was going to say was, to be 17 years old, and you get up in front of the audience there in the auditorium and the convention hall, and then you also in front of the nation on national television.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite impressive.
It was. It was
for her to get up, and she wanted to get up and share. She wanted to. You know, everybody knows Donald Trump, the politician, the former president. You know, the tough guy image that he projects.
Yeah.
And she wanted to say, well, yes, but there's a teddy bear side too.
Yes.
And
yes.
she did it very eloquently.
She did.
So
they play golf together, she said. And he gives her a rough time. And she said, I give him a rough time back because she said, remember, I'm a Trump.
Yes.
So it was really quite good. And, you know, Fox, when they presented this, did a split screen so you could see Donald Trump's reaction to what the granddaughter had to say.
Yeah.
And it was something. But you mentioned Donald Trump's speech tonight. A lot of people, we know he has rewritten the speech that he had planned for tonight in the wake of what happened last Saturday. A lot of people are wondering because they've looked on the expression on his face when he's been coming into the convention floor this week. A lot of people saying he's a different man. And we may not have the kind of Donald Trump speech we're used to tonight. It may be much more grandfatherly.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are very anxious to hear if that is true, if he has toned down that, because he's been critical, people have been critical of his style.
He's bombastic.
Yes.
But he has sure looked subdued.
Yes.
At the convention. When he comes out, people chanting his name and applauding. I'll just say, and it's possible I'm reading into what I'm seeing. That's possible. But he does look humbled.
Yeah.
He looks humbled and grateful for the support.
He also looks tired.
And he does. He does.
And I'm not criticizing him for that,
right?
Because he's 78, and he almost got assassinated, and
he may not be sleeping well.
And he also that's what I'm saying. He also got he's trying to process all that. All the while, he's in attendance for this convention, you know, and it's just a lot to go through your head.
Listen, it's not. He's an intelligent man. He knows it's not over. In terms of his life being on the line.
Against
the threat. Somebody may so in his mind he's going, well, that wasn't a one-off. There are still people out there who may try this again. That's got to weigh on you.
Also, he won't say this publicly, but if I'm him, I mentioned this before, I'm like doubting the Secret Service now.
Yes.
I'm going, these guys can't protect me. I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Huh? We'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
It was Thanksgiving Day, and John Walter was lying in a hospital bed in Lubbock, Texas. Walter had to visit the hospital often, In order to keep living, he took kidney treatments 3 times a week. Making the trips to the hospital had sent Walter's hospital bills zooming. But worse than that, his health had meant that he was unable to harvest his cotton crop, and it was in danger of rotting in the field. While millions of Americans were taking the day off to enjoy the traditional Thanksgiving turkey, some of Walter's neighbors and friends were spending the day in a different way. "We knew he needed help, but would never ask for it," said a friend of Walter's. "He understands we all have crops we need to get out of the field at this time. But he needed help, so we all came." His friends came all right. On that Thanksgiving Day, more than 20 cotton harvesters were in operation on Walter's 200 acres of cotton. "We just decided to heck with it," said H.G. Burkett, Jr., who with Allen Higgins spearheaded the community effort. "We decided to help him first and then worry about ourselves." Why, a local grocery store even supplied food for those working, and some of the wives came to prepare it. And at the College Avenue Co-op gin, everyone else's processing had to stop so that there would be adequate trailers to carry Walter's cotton. Fuel had been in short supply in the West Texas area for several weeks, but the men who brought their machinery decided to use their own fuel for the special harvest. About that, Higgins had this to say: "If we used Johnny's fuel, he would not have any for future needs." Walter was prevented from attending the Thanksgiving harvest because of his 6-hour appointment for the kidney treatment. "I've always been blessed with good neighbors," he said. "This is one Thanksgiving I'll never forget." Pick up your local daily newspaper or turn on your radio or television, and chances are that too much of the news will be bad news: killings, robbings, rapes, and the like. Being continually bombarded with bad news has a harmful effect on us. We begin to think that the only things which happen are bad. Never believe that. Good things still happen. Lots of good things still happen. All across this country of ours, there are people helping other people. You may never read about them or hear about them, but good things are still happening. In big cities and in little towns all across the land, good things are happening because good people are making them happen. One wonders who received the most, Walter or his friends. One thing is for certain: they all benefited from the sharing. Yes, sir, the Spirit of Christ still dwells in the hearts of some individuals. If you doubt it, ask Johnny Walter about it. He can give you a first-hand report.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. Psalm 27:4.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening. I'm Tim with Fred and Ed. And we've been talking about, there's so much in the news we haven't even got to, won't have time to, but we were talking about what happened last night at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, and the convention itself culminates this evening with the talk of the party's nominee, former President Donald Trump, will be formally accepting the nomination. Joining us now is Jenna Ellis. Jenna's heard each morning on American Family Radio from 7 to 8 with Jenna Ellis in the morning. She is a author and a constitutional attorney. Good morning, Jenna.
Good morning, Tim, and it's great to have you back. I think this is the first time I've been on TI in a while that you've been back. So good.
Well, it
to hear
hadn't
your
been
voice.
intentional.
Don't take it personally.
I haven't been avoiding you.
And speaking of personal
Yeah.
things, Jenna,
Yeah.
I am aware that during the break,
Yeah.
Adam Suddeth, who's
Our producer
today, told you that the topic we wanted to discuss with you, and this was just as a joke, was the advancement of cold fusion technology.
It's no joke to me.
To
I use it.
to which you replied, I doubt it, because if I don't understand it, those guys sure don't.
Yeah, this is kind of sexist, if you ask me.
I'd like to know what you meant by that. Besides, we're three idiots sitting on the panel.
Did he tell you the rest of his text message? See,
No,
this is
no.
why don't trust your sources
Right.
here, because you have to actually go back and read the text, because this is what he said to me: the advance of cold fusion technology and why pre-K schools should begin teaching fusion theory.
Right, hold on, Jenna, just real quick. For those who don't know, they may have missed it. Adam Suddeth, our producer today, text Jenna what she's talking about. Okay, what are we going to be discussing when I come on today's issues,
Right.
which is now. And to Adam said the advancement of cold fusion technology.
Yes.
Yes,
To which
but
Jen-
also
Go ahead.
why pre-K schools should begin teaching the fusion theory. So the they was to the schools, and I said they shouldn't. I don't even understand it. So pre-K kids won't. So I wasn't actually. Yeah.
No.
So see, he's trying to throw me under the bus a little bit.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
my producer
Right.
in the
Yeah, I
morning.
know.
So I mean, and now I'm starting to sound like Kamala. Wow.
So
you know, but
I will say this. I didn't even understand cold fusion technology until one time here not too long ago. My sisters took me to Starbucks, and I had some of that cold fusion
therapy
technology with it was some kind of
like cold brew.
Yeah, it was cold brew. Isn't that the same
Is that
thing?
cold? Is that? Because I mean, I understand cold brew. If you
Co-
want to
well,
talk about that,
no,
I have
I'm
a lot of opinions.
I'm kidding. Cold fusion technology
but
is.
here's the great thing. I have been on so many radio programs and so many times when I was working for former President Trump, where he would tweet something like 30 seconds before I'd got, and people assume that like I was fully briefed on this, right? Yeah, of course, you know.
Right.
And so I'd go in and they'd be like, so Jenna, what's your opinion on this? And so I got so good at just saying something like, well, yeah, like what I responded to Adam, and what I loved about the White House press secretary saying that she's not going to get ahead of the president in terms of, you know, anything that he says. I was like, oh, I know that so well. That means that she has absolutely no clue what he's doing, because she's not going to get ahead of him because she doesn't even know what's going on.
Corinne,
So that line is
that
great.
is a line. Corinne Jean-Pierre we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
She is the master at referring you to.
Right.
So whatever question is asked, which she should be answering for the White House or about her boss, President Biden, she deflects by saying, I will refer you to an agency who you'll never get a comment from.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck with that one.
Yes.
You'll get it. That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
I will refer you to Jenna, and the Jen Psaki's was circle back.
Circle back.
Which that means I'll never get back to you. So
Right.
anyway, that's how these professional public relations people sometimes handle questions.
And that's why I'm so grateful to be on AFR, because we actually handle things directly. We don't just circle back. I mean, sometimes we do. Sometimes we're like, if it's cold fusion theory, I will definitely
circle back.
But yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you've been watching the convention, obviously.
I have.
And what are your overall thoughts?
Overall, I think it's very inspiring, especially for a nation that just endured what we did on Saturday with the attempted assassination of former President Trump. I thought the greatest couple of moments so far were when he walked in that first night, WWE style, and looked. I mean, I know him well. I know his facial expressions, and he looked more emotional than I've seen him. I mean, very rarely did he, have that kind of, usually it was when he was talking about his family and things like that. So to see that was such a great moment. And then last night when his eldest granddaughter, who's 17, just got up and said, I want to talk about my grandpa. I mean,
Right.
that was such a non-political moment of any sort of thing. It was just a young girl talking about how much her family meant to her. I thought that was amazing. The Gold Star families. I mean, there's a lot here that is really good, and I think overall we should take those points. Of course, I've been a very vocal critic of the platform, the way that it was pushed through to excise the definition of marriage, water down pro-life. I think that we're at a crossing point here as far as where conservatives and evangelicals need to go being strategic. And I had Steve Deace on my show this morning, and I love how much he just preaches his political rant.
Yeah.
So I just sat back for about 20 minutes and listened to him. And his overall message was that, God is still working and moving in not only our personal lives, but in the life of a nation. And we need to be part of that, even if it doesn't look like the same Christian nation we've grown accustomed to. There's still a lot of work for us to do and that can be done. And I think that's a very good admonition.
We joke around a lot here on this program, and it's good to have fun as Christians.
Right.
As people, it's good to have fun because you need some stress relief. However, I will say this, and I've talked to this about with numerous people, and don't get me wrong, I hope President Trump wins in November, because primarily for me, and everybody has their reasons for why they vote or don't vote, it's all about the judges. The Supreme Court, Thomas and Alito are likely to retire, and the federal judges, I mean, the impact they have will go far beyond the years of whoever the president may be. In this case, it would be Donald Trump. However, I would say this, whether Trump's elected or not, our country is in a spiritual malaise and a moral decline. And I don't know if it's reversible or not. I don't mean to be pessimistic. I'm generally not pessimistic. But you just see darkness across our land spiritually. We as Christians can see this, what's going on. And so politics is politics and government, is a big part of our existence here in the U.S. And we want to maintain our freedoms and our liberties and our way of life. And people want to have money to pay their bills and jobs. And there's just so much that goes into our country. But if we completely lose our moral bearings as a nation, I don't care who we elect.
Yeah.
Is that, Ed? Do you want to comment?
Well, I'd like to listen to what Jenna has to say. I'll talk all day long about this subject, but Jenna, I mean, it's clear. If it wasn't clear just theologically to most Christians, it's become crystal clear because we see it before our very eyes. Only God can save America, and
Amen.
I think what Tim is saying is politics is a part of it. But it is not going to turn around the heart problem we have in this country. I think that's a fair understanding of where we're at, right?
Absolutely, and I've been talking about this all morning this week on my show because so many people are saying, this is such a great thing for the party. We're super excited, about Trump and Vance, and they're actually saying that it's okay that this platform is watered down, completely missing the whole point of the culture war. And in fact, Politico just put a piece out earlier today that quoted one of the delegates from Louisiana who said this: the core of the party is pro-life. There are some people that are further with it that believe in zero abortions, and that's their right. But a lot of people in the party are realizing that we should not be trying to judge somebody's life, dictate how somebody lives their life, and they're focusing more on the policies that are good for all Americans. If that's somebody who says that they are a conservative delegate, we have very serious problems in this country, because I'm old enough to remember the overturn of Roe versus Wade, pre-Dobbs, when we were thinking that this would be the most pro-life generation because of the advancements in medical technology, because of the spiritual awakening in this country, and we really were not prepared for this debate post-Roe. And the entire point of politics that people have to understand is that this is not a religion. This is not substituting party politics for our faith. It's that we are engaged in politics, in civil government, because we are commanded to by our faith. And we have to first have the knowledge of God and have a good theology. Go to a church that teaches theology, teaches through the Bible, so that we know how to engage our culture with truth. And we are not captured by all of these ridiculous arguments suggesting that we need to just sideline pro-life because somehow that's what caused our failures and our losses in 2020 and 2022. So let's just get rid of all the morality and then maybe we might win something again. No, we stand for truth regardless.
Yeah. Talking to Jenna Ellis. And Fred, did you have a question for Jenna? Or?
No, that's good.
Are you calling puppies any longer? I mean, when do you cross over to dog adulthood?
Yeah, so that well, I mean, I think they'll still always be puppies. Just kind of like, I'm still my parents' kid. I think they'll always be puppies, but they are celebrating their birthday next week on the 25th, so halfway to Christmas is their birthday. So we are having a Paw Patrol party. Because that's
oh brother
because they have a couple of little doggy friends in the neighborhood, and so I'm making little cupcakes with Paw Patrol stickers on them because that's what the puppies love.
We're talking about two dudes. What is the Instagram people follow?
Two dudes, DOODS, because they're golden doodles. 2 dudes _ Copper and Todd, and a lot of people follow them. And in fact, one of the main responses I always get on radio is, "I didn't hear the boys today. Where were they?" And actually, not last night, but the night before, I was on my Salem TV show. And generally, the boys, I've taken them out, and they're good by then. It's not right, first thing in the morning. And Copper is more than Todd, thinks that he's a star, and he always wants to be on TV. So he was like poking his little head up. So during the segment, I just decided to lean into it, and by the end, I just said, "Well, and this is Copper, and he would like to give his opinion as well." So he appeared on TV the other night. It was fun.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say the fact that you said that a lot of people pay attention to their Instagram page may be the most disturbing thing I've heard all show.
Hey, everybody's got their stress
listen,
relief,
who doesn't love dogs?
Yeah,
and they're adorable dogs too.
Yeah, they are.
Who doesn't listen, with all the stuff that goes on in our country?
Right.
You got to have a couple. You got to have a couple of dudes. DOODS in your life.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Well, when I was out visiting my family for the 4th of July, I sent Tim a picture of my dad and Todd, because Todd just adores my dad, and he goes, "That looks like a couple of good dudes right there too." so we need some of those kind of dudes too. Happy dudes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those Todd and
Copper.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Well, that's taken from the movie. What was that?
The Fox and the Hound.
Fox
it was
and the
one
Hound.
of the old good
legendary
Disney movies.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. All right, thanks, Jenna.
Thanks so much.
Who are you going to have on who's going to be on in the morning?
Pastor Jack Hibbs, and I'm so excited because he is going to give us a great exposition of the direction that Christians need to go in a fallen culture and an encouragement to the church. So
Jack
really
Hibbs
excited for that.
on tomorrow with Jenna, 7 o'clock Central Time tomorrow morning. All right, Jenna, take care. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
Okay, that's Jenna Ellis joining us from the free state of Florida, where she lives.
Free state of Florida.
That's what they call it, the free state of Florida. Jenna, she grew up in Colorado, lived in Washington, D.C. area for a while, obviously when she worked in the White House, and now she lives in Florida, and we're glad to have her as our morning host here on American Family Radio. Yeah, it was Steve Dace, our brother Steve, man.
He's a wind-up toy.
Yeah.
You wind him up, and he'll go until the battery runs down.
He can. I wonder how JD Vance last night. Steve is a devout. You know how somebody's devout religion? Steve's devout Michigan Wolverine.
Oh,
like maize and blue.
Yeah.
Like you cut him, he bleeds maize and blue. That's the colors for the University of Michigan. Yeah. So I just wonder how he's processing and dealing with the fact that JD Vance is Ohio State.
And JD Vance last night, he kind of in good humor. Okay. He said the Ohio State, and he went all in about.
He said sorry, Michigan.
And then the Ohio State delegates started cheering for the Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then JD Vance said, it was a pretty funny moment. He said, all right, now calm down. I got to say to my, but we have to win Michigan too.
Right. That was funny.
So I didn't know that Steve Dace was a big Michigan
Oh,
fan.
yeah. Well, call him. You want to call him? Yeah, get him on
No,
a cell phone. You want to call him? Because
that's
he'll
okay.
talk
I'll
for an
take
hour.
your word for it.
He'll
Yeah.
interrupt whatever he's doing to talk Michigan.
Yeah.
Football in particular. All right, you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, and Fred. I wonder, guys, tonight with President Trump's speech. President Trump said, as you referenced this a few minutes ago, Fred, President Trump said before the convention, between being the attempted assassination and the start of the Republican convention, he did an interview with somebody and said he was going to change it. He's changing up his whole speech.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the immediate aftermath. I think that was while the weekend was still going, like Sunday or something. I think it was pretty quick.
What would that mean? I guess we'll find out tonight. But what was that? What does that mean?
I don't know.
To wait and see?
Yeah, I really don't know what that meant, other than perhaps his original speech was going to be very vocal in criticizing Joe Biden, and maybe he started thinking about tamping down the rhetoric, talking about President Trump. I don't know. But at this point, Joe Biden has his own problems.
Yeah,
and,
but President Trump can't go Fred Rogers on us.
Oh, no.
It won't look natural, and
he's probably been advised not to change it much. After the initial comment, I have to believe his sons and others that he trusts in terms of their advice and counsel probably are going to, because the speeches thus far during the convention have been very critical of Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, including JD Vance's,
Vance,
speech.
Trump's two sons, Eric and Don.
Well, it's all been fair game.
Right. That's why I think whatever the original comment meant, going to tear the speech up, I have to imagine a lot of it's going to be some minor adjustments rather than a wholesale change.
I think there'll be a theme of thankfulness for what happened. I think he'll praise
I got you.
his Secret Service team.
Yeah, that would be a major. I mean, if by that kind of change, I can fully understand that. I just meant, is he going to? Because he had said, I did read one quote where he said, I was going. The original speech was kind of tough on Biden, but we're changing all that, and I didn't know what that meant exactly. Of course, we'll wait a few hours and find out what he meant by that.
They've had a theme each day, and today is Make America Great Again. And that's he will stick with that theme tonight.
Right.
I don't think he's going to wonder. He's going to be, pro-military.
Right.
I just what the world will be watching to see what he says about what happened Saturday.
Yes.
Oh, yes. This is going to be now. Fox has had really good numbers tuning in during the convention. I know Fox isn't the only network carrying it, but they've had really good numbers. I think tonight, and by good numbers, I think 7 or 8 billion. But tonight, I think it's going to really shoot up.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be stream. It's not only the television network, but then the streaming devices will be. It'll be watched worldwide. In fact, I'm a golf fan, obviously. I was reading about Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods is in Great Britain for the British Open, which starts today, which is a major golf tournament.
Right.
And he was saying that he didn't get much sleep before he got over there because he was watching the events on what happened Saturday, and I'm just saying when I say the world's watching, the world watch what happened Saturday, and we'll be watching tonight.
Yeah,
see what the former president says about it. Of course, Donald Trump and Tiger Woods were longtime friends prior to him even before he became president. But I just make that point to say everybody is curious and interested to find out what he has to say about what happened on Saturday.
It's going to be interesting to see how far, if he gets personal in the attacks against Biden, because right now the Democratic Party is self-imploding. Axios News is running at this hour. They say top Democrats telling us the rising pressure of party congressional leaders and close friends will persuade President Biden to decide to drop out of the presidential race as soon as this weekend. So you've got two major political stories going on right now.
Right.
The pressure on Joe Biden to step down and the hints that have started to come out this week where he, in an interview with a media outlet, said, well, if a doctor told me I couldn't run, I would step down. Yesterday, we had the news that he's been diagnosed with COVID once again. We saw the pictures of him getting on Air Force One in Las Vegas, I believe it is, last evening, where he had to rest going up a 12 or 13 step staircase into the bottom of Air Force One. Now he's isolating this weekend back in Delaware. So there's Nancy Pelosi openly turning against him now.
Telling him to his face that the polls show he can't win.
Yes. Schumer has met, Senate Majority Leader Schumer has met with him, and we are told he's being encouraged to step down by Schumer. You've got Adam Schiff publicly saying it's time for Joe Biden to go. We understand the money coming into the coffers has pretty well all dried up.
Right.
So all of this is going on, and
he can't survive politically. But here's the problem for the Democrats. There is no clean way to get rid of him.
No.
Even if he, there's all kinds of talk about, initiating procedures under the 25th Amendment, all those where you forcibly remove someone who is incapable of serving out his term. So set that aside. Even if he agrees that he is not going to accept the nomination or be the Democratic nominee, you still have the question, and we've talked about it on the show, you still have the question about, well, does he finish out his term?
Yeah.
If he's not strong enough to run for re-election, how is he strong enough to fill out his term until someone else is inaugurated this coming January? Mm-hmm. That means if he steps down, Kamala Harris becomes the president. Then she has to select a vice president. Does she become the nominee?
Yeah.
And if not, how are you going to give her the boot? And listen, they are in a tough spot politically, and there's no clean way for this to happen. But it seems increasingly that it's going to happen.
Guys, does this not seem like something that should have been worked out 2 years ago?
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm talking about Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
They should have worked something out with Biden 2 years ago and not wait till the last minute to try to force him out. Seems to me like.
Well, I will say this. Now, we've been talking since he was elected in 2020, Joe Biden. Okay? Please, folks, I'm just saying you may have disagreements that election was legitimate. Right. But I'm just saying we've been talking about that he has problems, mental, cognition, cognitively, all that. But it seems to me in the last year he has really fallen off the ledge. In other words, it has not only become more and more apparent, but it's been a steep decline. And so perhaps the Democrats thought, well, we can't pull him out now. First of all, I don't think Joe Biden would have ever agreed to it.
That's right.
But they're saying we can't pull him out now. I think we can wait and have him win re-election, then make the decision. But after that debate, it became clear he's probably not going to win. Now the Democratic Party's stuck.
And the media is against him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the media, their heads are going to spin off their shoulders if Donald Trump wins re-election.
Yes.
So that's all they care about is we cannot let Orange Man Bad get back in the White House.
All right. What if Joe Biden says, to borrow from George H.W. Bush, not gonna do it?
That's possible.
Yep.
Not gonna do it. And so we'll be back momentarily with more of today's issues.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
The Stand provides a Christian perspective on current issues that are important to your family. Produced by the American Family Association, this monthly magazine is full of articles and stories about people who are making a difference in their community and around the world. Sign up today and receive a free 6-month subscription. Visit thestand.net or call 1-800-326-4543.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. Concerns from Democrats over President Biden's candidacy are back in the spotlight.
ABC News is reporting Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer told President Biden it would be best if he bowed out of the race. Schumer's office responding to the report by saying, quote, unless ABC's source is Senator Chuck Schumer or President Joe Biden, the reporting is idle speculation. This comes as Fox News learned Schumer pushed the DNC to move back its roll call vote to nominate the president until August. Meanwhile, California Congressman and Senate candidate Adam Schiff this week became one of the most high-profile Democrats yet to publicly call on President Biden to suspend his re-election campaign. President Biden has said he plans to remain the party nominee. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
New details have been revealed in the attempted assassination of former President Trump. David Spunt reports.
The rangefinder that the shooter Thomas Crooks had, according to a law enforcement source, was a golf rangefinder, and he was not considered a suspect. He was merely a person of interest. This, according to someone with the Secret Service. He was a person of interest until he got on the roof. He, quote, retrieved the weapon. That's when he became a suspect. We asked about the word retrieve. Does that mean that he hid the weapon there before? The source had to go, hung up the phone. We've talked to many people who were in the briefings by the Secret Service and FBI. The Secret Service knew about some sort of threat, at least before Trump took the stage, and still allowed him to take the stage.
President Biden reportedly has COVID with mild symptoms, and footage shows him struggling as he climbed aboard Air Force One. But Trump hater Joy Reid on MSNBC tried to compare Biden having COVID to Donald Trump almost being assassinated.
Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation. Weird situation. We'll figure that out one day. But his survival of that and bouncing right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength. This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days, doesn't that convey exactly the same thing? That he's strong enough, older than Trump, to have gotten something that used to really be fatal to people his age.
RNC co-chair Laura Trump reacted to that.
That's honestly, it's unbelievable. It's disgusting. Someone tried to kill my father-in-law. There was a bullet that came within millimeters of taking his life. Those two things are completely unrelated, obviously. And it wasn't just that people are trying to make it look like strength. That was strength.
A security expert thinks it is a good idea that the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General has opened an investigation into the attempted assassination of Donald Trump.
There are still many unanswered questions in the wake of the tumultuous events in Butler, Pennsylvania. The shooting has raised questions about how the gunman was able to climb onto a roof with a clear line of sight to the former president, who was injured. An attendee was killed and 2 others were critically wounded. Now the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General has opened up an investigation. In a post on its website, the agency said the objective of the probe is to, quote, evaluate the United States Secret Service's process for securing former President Trump's July 13, 2024 campaign event. Greg Schaefer has 31 years' experience in law enforcement, including 20 years with the FBI. He is founder of the Schaefer Security Group.
I think that having an outside agency doing the investigation will give the American public more of a sense of a report that's truthful. Having a report done by the Secret Service where they're policing themselves, I think would not be a wise idea. That would be something that would make the public question the veracity of the report.
Schaefer agrees with those who believe Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle should resign or be fired.
Well, I don't know why she doesn't resign. I think she should. I would think the ego might be a big part of it. I think she should step down. Her comments relating to the reason that she did not put a sniper team on that rooftop because it was too sloped, which is a ridiculous statement. She's not telling the truth. That rooftop was so minimally sloped that it would present a threat or danger to no one.
I'm Chad Groening.
More news online at afn.net. and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
The loss of a child through abortion, miscarriage, or stillbirth affects the emotional health of families. Feelings of anger, sadness, and regret can be overwhelming. There is hope and healing in the aftermath of a reproductive loss. Call the International Helpline at 866-482-LIFE to talk with someone who has been where you are and healed to help others. Your call is confidential. 866-482-LIFE.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for listening to the program. Today's Issues are here on the American Family Radio Network, American Family Radio. I'm Tim. And by the way, we do podcast this show and all our shows here on American Family Radio. So if you missed the program and you want to listen to it, just click on afr.net, click on podcast, and there are the banners for the shows. So how long, Adam Suddeth, our producer today, how long does it take us to get our Today's Issues program up on podcast? I don't hear
About
you.
30 minutes.
From now? From
Yeah,
after
well,
the show's
after
over?
the show's over, yeah.
All right. So half an hour after the show's over. So check that out, afr.net, and click on our podcast, and you can listen to the show anytime you want to. Ed Vitagliano, I'm Tim Wildman, Ed Vitagliano, now Steve Paisley, Jordahl.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Georgia. Steve, what's on your mind?
Well, I just got to say, the lawfare against Donald Trump has been falling apart on the Democrats,
Right.
all the cases, the legal cases, but they're not giving up. Word just in that Alvin Bragg has filed 2 new charges against Donald Trump, 1, avoidance of a targeted projectile, and 2, obstruction of an assassination attempt. So they're going to be going after
Right.
those.
Bada boom. Bada boom. Is that Babylon Bee stuff?
It should be. It isn't. That particular one isn't.
Listen, things are so wacky in New York that I actually thought that this was a serious story, breaking news.
Sorry,
I would not be shocked if Alvin Bragg tried to target him with.
But that
2
is
new
not
charges.
true. That's a joke.
That is yes.
Avoidance of a targeted projectile and obstruction of an assassination attempt.
Yeah.
I think we can.
Yeah.
I would,
once you mentioned the charges, I
All right,
realized.
let's talk about something that's not a joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And that is, you want to talk about what happened on Saturday and what's been.
Well, yeah, we keep learning things about the shooter, the investigation, and the hiding of the facts by the Secret Service. It's just okay. Here's what we're learning today: Thomas Crooks, the gunman, they say now, hid the rifle in advance of the shooting, likely on the roof of the building. Now, we know that he was spotted an hour or so before the shooting without the gun. When did he hide the gun? He would have had to hide it like earlier, even the day before. And you're telling me that no one bothered to get up and
Get on the roof.
Get on the roof and just look?
Right.
So that's number one. Number two, I'm reading, and this is, I don't know how this works, but Colin Rugg, who's a credible reporter, he says that Crooks was shot dead 26 seconds after he let off his first shot on Donald Trump at the rally. Now, we've all seen the video and heard the shots. It seemed like about 6 or 7 shots within, 5-10 seconds. This is almost immediately. So I don't know where the other 10, 15 seconds, how that works. But so what we're finding out is that at 5:10 p.m., Crooks was first identified as a person of interest. Now, about 20 minutes later, he was again spotted with a rangefinder. Now, we've been told that it was a rangefinder that was like what snipers would use, which should raise some alarm. But it turns out it looks like it was a golf rangefinder.
Okay, now what's the difference?
I believe one's a scope like you put on looks like a scope you put on a rifle. One looks like a binoculars. I don't know. Tim would know about the golf rangefinder. It doesn't look as menacing, but I think what I'm reading is that they're reconsidering it. It's not banned, the
Right.
rangefinder, but they're gonna think about.
Okay. Unlike my sons, I'm not a gun enthusiast. My two sons are like Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett.
And my son is too.
Your son is too.
Yeah.
I mean, but the rangefinder you're talking about,
Yeah.
golf, you use that to find out your distance from the pin.
Right.
Your target, if you will.
So
but
to speak.
But it's not a scope.
No, and that's why it didn't raise more of an alarm. If you see someone looking through a scope at the president, it looks different than if someone's looking through what looks like binoculars, right?
Yeah, I mean, you would use, if you got a rangefinder, I mean, that's just to find out your distance. That's not to scope in on a target. That anyway, listen, I don't know when we'll get answers on this, on what, or do we have answers already on what happened? Is it just as simple as this is a colossal failure on the part of the Secret Service and whoever's in it sounds impossible. You think of the Secret Service, you think of this regal, impeccable agency that is flawless, right?
Right.
And they have to be.
Right.
And you're thinking to yourself, maybe you're thinking, wait a minute, 140 yards, 150 yards away, you're telling me a 20-year-old boy, young man, can get on a roof and take an open shot, and somebody doesn't see that? There's two questions I have about, now this, and what I'm talking about isn't even in the realm of conspiracy theory that we're all seeing and reading about and hearing from, and I've heard it from a lot of people who have, in today's world, you can't rule out anything, huh? Am I right?
Right.
Yeah. Used to, you'd say, well, that's wackadoodle, and now today you go, wait a minute, that is a good question. Okay, so here's two questions I have, which I haven't heard answered. One is the person responsible for the event, whoever the number one person is.
Of the Secret Service?
Of the Secret Service.
Kimberly Cheadle.
She was number one responsible? I'm talking about on site.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
Right.
Right.
On site, they need to be fired today by President Trump or whoever. This is my opinion. I don't know.
You're saying this is a failure of the highest order.
And I'm not talking about the lady.
Right.
What's her name?
Kimberly
Cheadle.
The Secret Service lady. She probably needs to go too, but this ain't her fault. Excuse the slang. The failed events of that particular day is not somebody in Washington, D.C. It's who's ever on the ground. You see what I'm saying? See my point?
Yes.
So because if you don't have agents that are capable of seeing something so obvious that even the people in the stands were looking at going, how could this happen? And you allow the president to stand there and what happened? That's inexcusable.
Unless, now I'm 90% there.
Let me get back. Let me
Okay.
let me finish my second point, and then
okay.
Then you feel free to comment. So that's one. That's my one thought. Again, this is Tim's opinion, and if you differ from it, if you think that was Vladimir Putin shooting at him at whatever, I don't. You know, I've heard all kind of crazy things. Not that, but anyway. So, whoever's responsible for the events of the day and on the ground should be fired today. That is wow. Okay. Secondly, why isn't anybody around that building to keep him from going up in the first place? You're telling me something so close to an event, you don't have a few officers around? Sorry, you can't come here. You can't go on top. You know. Nobody's watching a man climb on top of a roof.
Right.
That's I don't know what to say about how in the world that could happen. Those are my two thoughts.
Let me throw a third question into the mix you guys can talk about. If they saw this guy and he was a person of interest and they had some concerns about them, why did they let the president out on the stage?
Right. You could, if he's a person of interest, you can interrogate him while the president is speaking.
They lost him twice.
Yeah. I mean, you just take him into custody and you just, you don't have to handcuff him. You say, we have some questions for you and we want to do some checking. And he's in custody and being talked to, quote unquote, while the president is doing it. And
they had eyes on this guy at least a half an hour before the event started, and they were concerned. That should be enough to keep the president in the holding tent.
He was called a person of interest, which is a category the Secret Service uses, and not a threat yet. Okay? So I understand that. So I absolutely agree with the second point, Tim, that there's no way anybody should be able to get on a building, whether it was a ladder, we've heard climbed up on air conditioner and got up. All four sides of that building should have been covered, and then someone walks towards the building, the police, with their hand on the weapon, sir, you can't go here, and then if he continues, you arrest him. Okay, now on the first one, I would agree with you. I'm 90% of the way there that it's the person on the ground in charge of that mission who should be fired, not necessarily Kimberly Cheadle, unless this was a failure of Secret Service policy and practice, which she would be in charge of instituting. The Secret Service began protecting presidents and family members and other high-profile political individuals after William McKinley was assassinated in 1901. Okay, so that's their job, not the only job, but that is their job, and the policies and practices of the Secret Service have to be such that you don't pull. I've heard this is true. I hope it's true that they might have been a little short-staffed because they had taken Secret Service personnel to help with protecting Jill Biden. Jill Biden.
Jill Biden was in Pennsylvania at the same time.
Which is fine. I'm okay with protecting the First Lady, obviously, but you should have enough personnel to do both. And if they don't have enough people available, that's the kind of thing where I go, Kim Cheadle should be fired too, because she should make sure, this is election season. You have a vacation scheduled, too bad. No vacations until November 5th.
Kim Cheadle, the Secret Service director, I mean, she may need to go too. She may need to be fired too. But if the scenario you just laid out with, it still comes back to the person in charge.
Absolutely. No, I absolutely agree.
Because if that's the case, they're short-staffed, then whoever's in charge of the Secret Service for the event for the day says, you know what, we're canceling this.
Yeah.
Canceling this because it's too high risk and we can't
protect the president.
Can't protect the president. So, Mr. President, you can speak from your hotel room.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know. But you don't say, guys, we're a little short-staffed today, but we're going to roll with it.
Okay, but now let me just ask you this. Both guys, I don't care. If you're Donald Trump's campaign, I would be thinking, okay, so that means the Secret Service can cancel all of our speaking engagements because they, quote unquote, don't have enough personnel.
Well, then hire private.
Yeah.
He's a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
Trump is. I would hire my own private security.
Yeah.
If that's the case. And there's enough money there for that. There's enough. He doesn't even have to dip into his own personal money.
Right.
There's enough money there from contributions to the to the campaign to pay for some extra security if that's what you need.
I absolutely agree. Whoever on the ground who's in charge of that fiasco, they need to go. They shouldn't even be hired as a mall cop. After that.
I know.
There's the crime, and then there's the cover-up. The crime, what you guys are talking, from the Secret Service perspective, the agent in charge should go, and it was blown.
Absolutely.
But when you have the director of the Secret Service saying the slope on the roof, which was about 6 degrees, was too much.
She's covering.
She is covering up stuff, and
that sounds stupid.
Well, it was. It was the most lamest.
Is she a DEI hire?
Yeah. Well,
Because she's a woman?
She started working with...
She worked for PepsiCo.
She did work for PepsiCo.
She worked for PepsiCo.
She does have Secret Service experience.
She was...
I don't think it's enough to be director.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, I'm just asking because she was a DEI. She was not DEI hire, but she was in global security director or whatever you want to call that for PepsiCo company, which is a big corporation, international corporation. But now you just wonder sometimes when
she was good friends with Jill Biden.
Yeah,
Jill
Biden. Jill
Yep.
Biden, and that's who got her the job. So
okay.
Can we go back to President Biden and his perhaps resigning?
Absolutely,
because
that could be a big story this weekend.
It could be a very big story this weekend, and if it happens this weekend, I'm sure that I'll be in this building preparing for Monday. But President Biden is doing himself no favors in this particular arena. Tim, you wanted this clip, and I found it just appalling and fascinating at the same time. President Biden sat down with an interview with BET, Black Entertainment Television, and
this is yesterday or the day before, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just in the last day or so. And he's virtue signaling to the host there about all of the African Americans that he hired, the diversity president. And I want you to listen. He's fumbling through this big time, and then he can't remember his defense secretary, Lloyd Austin's name, cut 12.
It's all about treating people with dignity. And it's about making sure that, look, for example, look at the heat I'm getting because I named the Secretary of Defense, a black man. I named Ketanji Brown. Because of the people I've named. It's about making it clear that American history is black history. Black history is American history, and it's being built by it. That's why we're strong.
What was the first thing you said right there?
I have no idea.
Not a clue.
Play that again.
I listened to it 4 times.
It's all about treating people with dignity. And it's about making sure that, look, for example, look at the heat I'm getting.
Oh, I got it. I got it. He said, he says, look at the heat I'm getting.
Oh, is that what he was saying?
Look at the heat I'm getting for appointing a black man to be head of the Defense Department. That's
is he really?
Secretary of Defense.
Who's giving him heat for that?
No, that's a bunch of garbage. That's a bunch of, but that's the pandering that Democrats do to black folks all day, every day. You got to vote for me, or they're going to put y'all back in chains.
Right.
Remember when Biden said that?
Yeah.
And it's
and
just,
if you don't vote for me, you're not black.
Listen,
you ain't black.
Listen, whether
a
black person or whoever votes for a Democrat for whatever reasons they might have, or but the condescending way in which Biden and some of these Democrats talk to black folks is like just embarrassing. I mean, like, okay, now we can't have an ID because the black folks, they don't know how to go get their driver's license.
Right.
So we're going to have to dumb it down where,
Right.
That's what they, and then Biden says, if you, they're going to put y'all back in chains.
Right.
Can you imagine saying something like that? And right there, he's going, he can't remember Lloyd Austin. He said the
black man.
The black man. He put it,
Which is the whole point of why he appointed him.
That's what
he has a distinguished career, but that's the point.
Saying he's a DEI hire.
That's the point that Biden is making.
Right.
I'm with you guys.
I don't know if the the black community generally support Democrats 90% or higher in a lot of cases, and that's been traditionally true. I don't know if that'll ever change or not, but there's some people saying that this election cycle, Donald Trump, at least his candidacy, may pick up 20%.
Yeah, that would be huge. And even so, I want to play you something from Van Jones, who's a CNN analyst and
black man,
and one of the strongest defenders of Biden and haters of Trump. This man cannot stand Donald Trump. Next to Joy Reid, he's probably the worst. Listen to what he says. He thinks the Democrats are in deep trouble. Cut 9.
A bullet couldn't stop Trump. A virus just stopped Biden. You've got the nominees of this party getting their butts kissed. Biden's getting his butt kicked by his own party. The Democrats are coming apart. The Republicans are coming together.
Okay, so for folks who are listening, parents, we know some of you don't allow the B word, but that was what Van
I didn't
Jones
hear it.
said.
I was texting somebody. What did he say, Ed?
Well, I'm not going to repeat it.
Okay.
But anyway, that is Van Jones, who, as you aptly described, Steve, is a Trump hater, recognizing the political peril for the Democratic Party. And a clear difference being laid out by what's happening at the Republican convention and what is currently going on amidst the Democratic Party.
Some defenders are still trying to rehabilitate the president, though. Listen to Joy Reid comparing the assassination attempt to the case of COVID. Listen to Cut 10. This is amazing.
Here's the question that I have on that. These two men are both elderly. Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation. Weird situation. We'll figure that out one day. But his survival of that and bouncing right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength. This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing? That he's strong enough, older than Trump, to have gotten something that used to really be fatal to people his age. So if he does fine out of it and comes back and is able to do rallies, isn't that exactly the same? I mean, it's not exactly the same. It's not the same incident, but it's an elderly man coming through out of an illness.
It should.
Really? Yeah, that's that. If you have to stretch that far, you know your candidate's toast.
Yeah.
First of all, listen, I know I'm giving credence to that argument. COVID is no longer the same thing she's talking about in terms of being so lethal to elderly people. That was in 2020.
Yeah.
But we are now at a version of the virus that is not quite as lethal. But if you have to stretch that far to say, hey, look, our guy did something too.
Yeah.
You're just not going to be able to. There's no emotional impact here from.
Let's just say
if Biden comes through COVID, which some people. I'm not going to talk about the conspiracy theories. That's
well, Democrats are a little depressed. Someone put together what is likely a conversation among Democrats going on right now. Listen to this. Isn't a real conversation, but you'll understand that. Cut 11.
Hey, Trump got shot at. Got shot at? Trump got shot at. So, did he? Oh, yeah, he lived. Huh. Yeah, and what's worse is he looked really cool when it happened. What do you mean he looked cool when it happened? He unfortunately looked very cool when it happened. How do you look cool getting shot at? Well, what did he do? Pop right back up with blood streaming down his face, pumping a fist in the air, shouting USA, USA, USA until a crowd of thousands joined in? That's exactly what he did. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I know. We're gonna lose the election, huh? Big time.
Who did that?
That's just some TikTok gal. Is very
listen,
clever.
I just without talking about that in particular, there are some really creative and funny people out there we never would have known about. I don't have TikTok or Instagram. I'm totally not cool.
Here, we can play now.
Yeah.
I'll do. Here you go. You take.
Oh,
I'm going to take O. And you take X.
Tic-tac-toe.
Tic-tac-toe.
But there's some really that's very creative.
Yeah.
What those ladies did.
It's just one lady, by the way.
That was only one lady.
One lady.
Oh,
camera.
Yeah. I've seen that.
You know what?
Before.
I think I'm going to predict tonight at the end of the Republican National Convention, after Trump has spoken, all the Republicans will join hands and sing to Joe Biden. Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Goodbye. All together now.
Right.
What's that?
What is that?
Headline from New York Post. Joe Scarborough backs push for Biden to drop out.
He's
if you've
toast.
lost Joe Scarborough,
I'm telling you, the only
Who's
way
toast?
Joe Biden, the only way he stays is if he goes into full stubborn mode. You can't drag me out. Politically, he's toast, even with his own party.
All right, folks, take care. Trivia Friday tomorrow. We'll see you back here then.
If you're 65 or older, you know this. Seeing your healthcare costs go up and up is frustrating. And maybe you were just notified that your Medicare costs are increasing again, or you're just tired of the massive deductibles. Well, here's some good news. There's a program that can really help with this. It's